So the NBA trade deadline is heating up, and this trade lit up Twitter at around 2 a.m. in the morning. Talked about it from Philly's side. Now we're going to talk about it from the Clippers side. Basically, they traded Tobias Harris for Landry Shamet and 2 first-round picks because everybody else involved was an expiring contract. I think the reason why they did this, the Clippers, is it's not that difficult to see. They're hovering around the 8th seed right now. Maybe they make it, maybe they don't. Maybe they get to the 7th, who knows. And crazy enough, I think they may still have a shot at getting there because of, what they do with Gallo and all that. But, or if he's healthy, that's always a factor with him. But even so, I think their thinking was, well, even if we make it, we lose to the Nuggets or the Warriors in round 1, then we don't get our pick because that's going to go to the Celtics because it's lottery protected. And then from there, I mean, they would be in the running for free agency and maybe they could re-sign Tobias, maybe they couldn't. But there's a chance they'd be forced to give him a max contract, and for as much as I love Tobias Harris, he is not a max contract player. I mean, for all we know, this one season he's having may be the best season of his career. I know he gets better every season, but do we see him going up to 23, 24 points a game? I don't know, that's a tough sell. He may just cap out at where he is, which again is a hell of a player that I would love to have, but if you have to eat up pretty much all of your cap, or not all of it, but a good chunk of it, and then you lose out on someone like a Kevin Durant, because those rumors are of course there, or a Kawhi Leonard, because the rumors of the Clippers being all in on Kawhi and sending people to Raptors games and all that, that's all a real thing. So I get it, and they got 2 draft picks for him. Philly's pick is probably going to be towards the top of the draft, or the bottom, which is fine because we see really good players get drafted everywhere all the time. When I say everywhere, I mean everywhere in the draft. And then the Heat pick is interesting because that's going to depend on how Miami's next couple of seasons go. How good are Josh Richardson, Bam, and Justice really? I mean, I know Richardson and Justice are having probably their best seasons individually this year. Who knows if that's going to keep on happening? Who knows if Bam really is this super athletic defensive monster who can handle the ball that we would all like him to be? But even so, Spoelstra is going to be there, and Miami is going to have cap space for the 2021 season, which of course is going to affect where they are in the 2021 draft. And because they're a team that always tries to win and they're not going to have their pick that year, I think it's a safe bet that they're going to go for it somehow, whether that's trying to sign somebody in free agency as well as just try to win as many games as possible. So there's a chance that that pick is not a huge gain, like maybe it's not in the lottery. You might end up with the 17th or 18th pick, but even so, that's still good to have. So, yeah, I think it's a pretty good return. And now if we can look towards the idea of free agency, this is what the Clippers are going all in on. They said, you know what we have right now is pretty good, but we want to maximize our chances at turning this into a great situation. And I just mentioned Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard. Who the hell knows what's going to end up happening with them, but the Clippers have been setting themselves up to be the other team in Los Angeles, where their pitch to these free agents can be, we have a whole lot of cap space, we know that we're not the Lakers, but we're still Los Angeles, and we're a franchise that knows what we're doing. I mean, from a personnel standpoint, from a moves standpoint, ever since the Blake Griffin signing, these guys have been hitting home runs in terms of the Blake trade, the return for Tobias, the drafting of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Jury is still out on Jerome Robinson, but it seems like Shai could end up being really good. And they haven't killed themselves with any bad contracts and all that. So that's all good. Now, I could also picture potential free agents looking at the way they treated Blake Griffin, where, I mean, they did act like he was going to be the long-term dude, and then they shipped him out, which that could be viewed as maybe like a neighbor to the Isaiah Thomas situation. It's not as drastic and it's not as ruthless, I guess. But since players cared about that, maybe there's a chance that they care about the Blake thing. But even so, I don't think that would crucify you as a franchise with your opportunity to get players. I think the fact that players respect Doc Rivers so much is a big deal. I think players nowadays, they're smarter than ever, right? So I guarantee you, randomly one night, Kawhi Leonard tuned into the Clippers and just saw, hey, you know what? Those guys have a lot of fun playing together. That, on top of the fact that I think Steve Ballmer's pitch to these free agents is going to be something like, look, I know right now we're not the big team, but with you and the stuff that we're doing behind the scenes in terms of like filling Los Angeles with a bunch of basketball courts that have the Clippers logo on it and stuff, Steve Ballmer's playing the long game here, where he's trying to take LA from the Lakers. Now, that's probably never going to happen, but is it perhaps possible that he could convince a free agent that if you come and then we keep on doing this stuff, that we can perhaps close the gap? Hey, it's a possibility. And then you say that to a guy like Kevin Durant, who just had this thing with Draymond and had this recent quote where he was like, yeah, I thought everybody was going to say I was better than LeBron after we won the finals, and the way that all those things have gone for him, maybe he just wants to be catered to the ultimate level, which of course would happen with the Clippers. Now, to be fair, that would also happen with the Knicks, and if you want to go the route of which team would make me more of a superstar, well, then New York potentially beats everybody. But if there is a second place in that scenario, it's Los Angeles. So these are all the things I'm going to assume the Clippers have in mind for the stuff they're going to do in free agency. And even if that doesn't work, let's say they do all that stuff and they don't end up with a big-time player, they have to fill out the salary with, I don't know, even somebody like DeMarcus Cousins, who, that could still make some noise, but someone like him, maybe a little worse, whatever. They still have these young guys and they still have these draft picks. So as a result, it's not like the franchise is going nowhere. Now, sure, losing out on big-time players, that sucks, no doubt about it. But given that even with Tobias Harris as your max guy, you cap out at, I don't know, a 6th seed or something, then I see why they would go this route. So, yeah, that's my take on it. I think it's a good move for the Clippers, and we're going to have to see, have they done enough to attract free agents, whether it's Kawhi Leonard or whoever, to come to this team? Well, it's just a waiting game at this point.